Okay guys, I am really excited for today's video because if you saw my Ipsy for July, you will see that the choice item I chose was a palette. And that palette is a definite dupe palette for the, well, meant to be like a dupe palette for the Natasha Denona Tropic palette. So it is the Mosaic palette from Trend Beauty. This is the last time you will be seeing my nails looking hideous like this because I'm doing them tomorrow. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I mentioned it in a recent video when I did look with the Lonnie Gilded Getaway palette. But this is what that palette looks like. And then we have the Natasha Denona Tropic palette, which looks like this. Now, one of the biggest differences between these is obviously the cost, because the Natasha Denona palette is $129. You heard me right. $129. I did not pay for this palette. My beautiful, wonderful friend Joanna, her channel is Super Lady. I will link it up above and down in the description box. She sent this to me. It was a gently used palette, and I was thrilled to get it. But then when I tried using it, I had a little bit of trouble with it. And it was even kind of on the chopping block for me in my latest collection and declutter video, but I decided to hold on to it and give it another try. And then when I saw that Ipsy had this Trend Beauty palette for, which obviously I got it for free because it was in my Ipsy, well, not free because Ipsy's $15 a month now, but still, if you were to purchase this palette, it is $12.50. So $12.50 compared to $129, whoa. If it's anything even remotely close, you know, as far as colors and the way the shadows perform, then hello, definitely worth it. And like I said, I was not real thrilled with the way that the Natasha Denona palette performed. So I was super excited to see how this $12.50 palette stacks up to this $129 palette. So for the sake of time, I went ahead and already did swatches on my arm. So let me get over here where I can show you all. So you will see the mattes. This actually is a little bit of a shimmer. This one is, not the top one. But they match up fairly well until we get about right here. And this one is definitely lighter than the Natasha Denona one. I don't know why. I'm going to say ND because I, for some reason, cannot say her name. It like makes me sound all nasally and weird. Where we really see the difference is when we get into the shimmers. The Natasha Denona ones, ND ones, are definitely more of like a topper type. And the ones from the Trend Beauty palette are more of like a foiled metallic. And so there's definitely a difference there, and it changes in the color. And then in these shimmers, the Mosaic Beauty, the Trend Beauty Mosaic palette are definitely more pigmented than the ND ones. And so I thought that was interesting, but pretty close in the color story. I think they did a pretty darn good job with that. So we are going to go ahead. I'm going to get this off of my arm. I've been hilariously sitting with my arm straight, trying to set stuff up because you think I would have set it up before I put all the swatches on my arm and had it right where my elbow bends. But no, I didn't do that because I'm me and I don't do things logically. And so I'm going to go ahead and clean this off, and then we will get into what we're going to do for an eye look. And I'm going to try to go with colors that seem to mimic each other the best. And we'll do one eye with one palette and one eye with the other. And we're going to see how the formulas compare when we're putting them on the eyes and that kind of stuff. I will say with swatching both palettes, I did go over a couple times with the swatches. So those are not like a one dip of the finger swatch. But the cheaper one, the Trend Beauty, swatched much better. Now, we know swatches are just a tiny bit of the story when it comes to a shadow, so that doesn't really mean a whole lot. So that's why we're going to go ahead and test this out and see one eye from the other and see what we think. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my eyeshadow primer on, and we are going to go ahead and see what we can do here. You guys, oh my gosh, I am dying with the heat. Like, I know everybody's been in a heat wave, so I think everyone's struggling. I don't know how people live in hot climates to begin with. And then like, it's like been like 90 here in Michigan for the week, and I cannot stand it. Like, I do not leave my house. I am in the air and I'm still way too hot. And I even question myself for, you know, recording right now because the light being on me makes me so hot. but I'm like, no, I really want to do this, but I don't know how people do it. Like, if you live in a hot climate, how in the world do you do it? Do you never leave your house? Which I wouldn't want to ever do that, even though I am a homebody, but still, I can't do it. It makes me sick. Like, literally makes me physically sick. Okay, enough about that. I'm very thankful for air. I will say that I feel very blessed to be able to have it because I don't know what I would do. All right, what we are going to do, I'm going to do on my left eye, the Trend Beauty palette, and on my right eye, the Natasha Denona. I have my little color switch so I can switch colors, and I just washed this yesterday, so it's nice and clean. My brushes are all clean, so we're good to go there. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to avoid those shimmers where they were completely different. How the Natasha Denona was very much more of like a topper almost, and the Trend Beauty was much more of like a foiled metallic kind of. And so I'm not going to use those colors because they're too different from each other. But the mattes were mostly the same, and especially the top row. So I'm going to stick to the top row of mattes and start working in those. So I'm going to go ahead and take from the Trend Beauty, I'm going to take Vibes. So this one over here. And they match up the same in the palettes as far as where the shades are, like, if you see what I mean. So it's easy to keep in line with what's what because they match them up like exactly in the same order. So Vibes is going to be that first one that I'm going to use. My stomach just made an insane sound, and I'm not hungry, so I don't know why it's doing that. And we're just gonna go ahead and really buff this out everywhere. And it's, you know, this is just a slight bit of color, so that's why it's good, I feel like, for a good transition to build up. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush off. This is going to be annoying for me to have to edit, but I'm going to kind of like start in it and then speed through so that, like start in the color, but you're still going to see me do it the whole time, but I'm going to speed it so it's not taking forever, but I'm not going to talk through the whole thing or this will take a long time. So now I'm going to go into Sahara, I don't know, whatever, over in this corner, which is the, like match-up color for Vibes. There's a lot of kick up in both pans, more so in the Trend Beauty, but there's kick up in both, so. They're looking pretty close, so that's good. The Natasha Denona one is just slightly darker, I think. So a slightly different tone. But I don't think it's going to be noticeable once we get the whole look done. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I really don't know. That's kind of the whole point of doing this. But it's blending out nice. Okay, cleaning my brush off. Now, let's go into... We're going to take Muse over here, this dark brown. And I'm going to kind of do that more in the outer corner and into the crease. That's a really nicely pigmented shade right there, as you can see. I'm only going to dip in that one time, and it's going to be plenty. So that's nice. Okay, cleaning off my brush again. And now I'm going into Cocoa from the ND palette. I'm going to do it just the same way I did the other one. Again, nicely pigmented. A little bit more so than the Trend Beauty one, which Makes sense. I feel like it should be that way. Now, to make it fair, I'm not going to try to, well, yes, I will. I'm gonna, I'll go back into this other one and try to match up so that the eyes look the same, because there is value in things that aren't as pigmented too, especially if you're a beginner in makeup, because having a highly pigmented shadow that you put on when you're not used to working with that, it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this now? Like, you might have to be, you know, blending for forever to get it blended out the way that you want it to, because it's too intense. So in that regard, or even if you are an experienced makeup person, some people just prefer a shadow that isn't quite so pigmented from the get-go. And so I think there's value in both of those. So I'm gonna go ahead. So that was just one time into the Tropic ND palette. I'll call it the Tropic palette. The Tropic and the Mosaic. Let's do that, because I cannot say Natasha Denona 100 times, and I keep forgetting to say ND, but that also makes me feel weird when I say it, so I'm like, you know what I'm saying. Do you? I don't even know if I do. Okay, now I'm going to go back into that muse, though. I cleaned the brush off and just build that up a little, because I do want the eyes to look, I mean, I don't want them to be, I want to see how the colors and stuff compare as far as what the finished look looks like, and I don't think it matters if you had to build it. I just want it to, yeah, that's much better. Makes it look much. So a little bit more from the Mosaic, you know, needed to add, but no big deal. Again, sometimes it's nice to have not such a pigmented, you know, shadow. Okay, cleaning off my brush again. Now I'm going to switch brushes. Let's do, so I think I'm going to use some of those, what am I going to do? Because unfortunately, I think the video I did one time with this Tropic palette, I used these other shades, and so I'm like, oh, I hate to kind of use the same things, but in keeping it going where I'm trying to go as far as trying to see how things work, I think I'm going to go into the blues. So the blue matte and the blue shimmer in both of these, because those shimmers were more alike. So I think that is what we're gonna do. And so this is Principal from Mosaic. Take my brush off. I may end up with this all over my face, who knows? I guess we'll see. This is going on really nicely. I am actually pretty impressed with it. Even with a brush, I feel like it's got like a good amount of, you know, shimmer to it. Looks pretty. So I'm happy about that. Just kind of buffing into the crease a little there. Make sure I get to the outer corner. Yeah, that's really nice. Definitely impressed with that. I should look at this mirror that's up closer to me. It'll be a little bit easier. And yeah, I'm still in frame. I'm like, I want to make sure I'm not out of frame. Okay. Nice. I'm going to clean my brush off, but I'm also going to flip it over just in case, because I just used the one side. So I will flip it over to this side to do the Tiger Lily out of the Tropic palette. Okay. This is where you're gonna notice. Do you see this? It is just like barely doing anything, and I rubbed into that like crazy. Okay, so we're gonna just go into it some more. We will build it up as much as we need to try to make them even. It's like a joke the way this is going on. It's very kind of patchy. It's like skipping on the skin. Okay. Took it up a little too high. So I'll have to fix the other side, but that's all right. I think because I was trying so hard to get it to go on there. All right, now let me look back in this mirror again. Okay, it is building up though. Well, I'm gonna give it a little more though, because I don't feel like it's as good as the other side. Make sure you get all the way to that corner. Okay. Now, since I took it up higher, natural hair brushes tend to shed sometimes. It's up higher on this side. I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush off again. And I'll flip back to the other side. And I'm just gonna go slightly into that Mosaic one, just so I can bring it up to match what I did on the other side. Because it's not cute if it's completely even. Completely even? No, that is cute. No, completely uneven. Completely even's cute. I don't know. You guys, I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. Especially like when I'm concentrating on something, I'm like, duh. Anybody else? I know it's a common thing actually. And if it's not, don't tell me that. Okay, I think that is more even now, so that's good, right? Right. My eyes are not even, so that also is a fun little game I get to play all the time. All right, cleaning that brush off, but now I'm gonna switch to a different brush actually. Another little flat brush, and I'm gonna go into Modern Twist in the Mosaic palette. Very pretty light blue matte. Let me get that in this inner corner here. And drag it into the shimmer. Now, that is looking slightly patchy, so I'm going to add more. It's not, at first application, not really covering great. So let's see. Instead of rubbing, I'm going to kind of, well, I'm going to rub over here to disperse, but I'm going to get some more and I'm just going to kind of pat it instead of rubbing it on. See if that makes a difference. Now I do know when I read the description about the Mosaic palette, it did talk about getting your brush wet to make like the metallics and stuff pop, which makes sense. Okay, over here I'm just gonna lightly blend this. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm getting fallout a little bit, which is kind of to be expected. All right, cleaning my brush off, but then also, again, I'm gonna flip over to the cleaner side and we're gonna go into Laguna in the Tropic palette. I do like a good blue and brown moment. I don't do that very often. Okay. This one does seem to be more opaque on first application. But again, I would expect that. And we can do it again and just kind of pat. Then blend into the shimmer. There is a mirror actually on both palettes, but the mirror on this one is like pretty phenomenal. It's the whole entire top and it's a nice mirror. So I definitely do love that. Okay. That was definitely easier. I'm gonna do one more slight pat on this side. Just right there in that crease where my eyelid crease is. And I'm gonna clean off and go back into Modern Twist on the Mosaic and do the same thing because I can see having the same issue over there. Just right where my eye crease is. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So there's that. All right. Looking pretty even so far, I would say. All right. Man, my color switch is getting a workout. All right. Now, let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and take that first brush again. I'm going to clean it again. I clean off my brushes all the time, but I'll do it again just for the sake of making sure this is legit. And I'm going to go back into Muse, so that darker one. And I'm going to take that along the edge here. Oh no, no, I don't like what happened there. It fell down into where the blue is. So, okay, let me do it on this side and see what happens with the Natasha Denona one. So cleaning it off and going into Cocoa from Tropic. Buffing that out. It did ever so slightly on this side, but not like that side did. I'll come up and show it to you. So, do you see how the brown fell down into the blue on this side? And I don't want that. Can you see that? Hopefully. So I'm gonna clean this brush off again. All right, let's do, before I fix that brown though, I'm gonna take a little bit fluffier brush. I don't know what that was. Like, had a weird hiccup in the middle of my talking. And I'm gonna go into that first one, Vibes, so the light one, and go just above where I did that darker color. Because since my eyes are hooded, I like to bring color up pretty high, close to my eyebrow. Otherwise, you can't see it sometimes if my eyes are just open, and it's just not as good of a look. It makes you look more tired. If you have hooded eyes and you don't bring color up higher, it definitely gives like an appearance of like, I guess I would say if you bring color up higher, it gives more of an awake appearance. It opens your eye up instead of having just all that hood space that's dark. Okay, so now I'm gonna go clean my brush off and go into Sahara. Is it Sahara or Sahara? I don't know. And take that over here. Again, I don't have to take as much from that palette because it is more pigmented. Okay, and then, so now I'm gonna go back into, clean that brush off again, just to be sure, but back into Modern Twist, that blue, and just fix where that brown came down on this. A nice crisp blue look there. Okay, and then I'm also going to take let's see, we'll take this smaller brush here, and I'm going to go in with Muse again, and I'm going to go at the outer edge here and just bring in to right here to kind of clean that area up and blend it. I do like to kind of extend my shadow out and up like this because, again, with the hooded eyes, it just gives more of like a shape of it going up instead of dragging down. So that is something I definitely like to do. That way we're just tying that in. Okay, cleaning my brush and going into Cocoa again for the Tropic side. I am really liking this color combo, so that's good. It's so funny because I'll see stuff and I want to go over with my brush to that side, but I can't because it's not the right shadow to use over there right now. Okay. The Cocoa is definitely richer. I'm going to clean that off and go back into Muse again in the Mosaic palette to deepen that. Just kind of stamp it in. Get it a little richer like it is over on the other side. Okay. All right. So I think now we will move to the lower lash line. Trying to think, do we take something a little different? I think maybe. I think it would just be fun to do something a little different. So I'm going to take this flat brush here and let's go into composition in Mosaic, which is this shimmery green, because this shimmer is like the green shimmer, like more so in the Tropic palette. So let's go ahead and do that. We're just going to run that under the lash line all the way across. It goes on very nicely, even though I did just put some directly on my eyeball. Wouldn't necessarily recommend that part. Stamp it. Woohoo! Okay, and I'm going to clean that off. And then we will go into Exotic from the Tropic palette. Okay, notice this is not going on like that at all. So it's going to take more work. So definitely, even though the shimmers, like once they're swatched, they look alike, the one from the Mosaic palette goes on much easier. I'm having to work a lot harder with the blue shimmer and the green from the Tropic palette. Yeah, definitely. It's going to take me a minute here to build up, so I'll speed through it. Okay, that definitely took a lot more work than the Trend Beauty one, the Mosaic. So what do we want to do? It's hard because, like, to really do an inner corner or anything, I don't think there's really a great color to do that with. Maybe this is going to be that'd be kind of a weird color though. So I think we might just skip that because, I don't know, just for the sake of using more shadows from both, let's just do it. I'm going to go into Force right here. And I'm just going to take that on this little brush. And just kind of go here. It does bring a slight lightening effect. It's kind of peachy tone, so nothing major. Cleaning my brush off and going into Nudist right here from this palette. This one does look a little more pinky. Slightly more, but not too much. All right. So I think that's where we're going to leave the shadows. I'm going to go ahead and put on liner and mascara, and then we will come back and really get up close, check out the differences, and kind of discuss what we think here. Okay, so I went ahead and just lined the upper, tight lined my upper lash line with the Essence Extreme Lasting Eye Pencil in Black Love. So it's just a black eyeliner. And one of the best ones out there, I dare say. And then in my waterline, I used the ColourPop Cream Gel Liner in Teaspoon. So it's a green. It broke on me when I was using it. Bummer. But I figured it tied in good with that green that I put on the lower lash line. And then I just used the Wet n Wild Big Papa Mascara for my lashes. Don't recommend this. I wouldn't. I'm just using it because I have it and I don't like to waste stuff. So yeah. And so yeah, I will come up close. I'll show you first. There is the tiniest little bit of fallout on the Mosaic side. So I'm going to go ahead and just buff that real quick. And that's that. But I don't see any on the Tropic side, I don't think. Oh, maybe the tiniest, but hardly anything. So neither much to speak of, but just so you know. All right, so let me come up close and show you what the eyes look like. Give you a little back and forth here so you can see the dimension of the shades and like how much of a difference do you see or how much of a similarity. Definitely makes my eyes look green today. So I would say what I notice most is definitely the Tropic palette. They are more opaque, the mattes. But for the most part, I don't think you can tell that much of a difference. It obviously took me a lot more work to build up the shimmers on the Tropic side than on the Mosaic side. So that's something to keep in mind. Which is funny because the mattes from the Mosaic palette take more building than from the Tropic. But the shimmers from the Tropic take more work than from the Mosaic. So just kind of, you know, that's what we wanted to do here was compare, or that's what I wanted to do. I don't know what you wanted to do, but that's what I'm doing. And so that I cannot tell a difference when I'm looking. There's no way I would know that one side was done with one palette and one side was done with the other. Would you guys agree? Like, can you really tell that much of a difference that you would look at me and go, something's just not quite right there? I mean, if you're really looking, yeah, again, like I said, these are more opaque, but I mean, who's looking that dang close at your eye makeup? And yeah, I'm really, really impressed. So given that, what do you guys think? Do you think it's worth it to spend $129 on this palette when you can get this palette for $12.50? I'm going to tell you what I think. You already know. I'm a super thrifty girl, so I never in a million years would spend $129 on a palette. And so it just wouldn't even be in the realm of possibility. It's not even something I would entertain the thought of. $12.50? Heck yeah, that's a really good price. And so I am actually going to link down in the description box the Trend Beauty Mosaic palette if anybody's interested in picking it up. I feel like this is exciting, seeing this and seeing how similar these are. And what I don't understand is how a company can create something that performs so well. Yeah, you might have to, you know, build it up a tiny bit. Yeah, it might not have quite the same opacity, you know, but who's going to know that aside from if you put them right next to each other like we did here? And even then, you can hardly tell then. So why in the world spend that much money? I don't understand how this company can make this good quality of shadows for $12.50 for a palette. But the Natasha Denona one is $129, and it's not like it's that amazing. You saw the shimmers, I definitely had to build up a lot different. Now, I will say, different formulas work differently with different tools. So my fingers may have done a much better job with the Natasha Denona one. I don't think so, though, because I think that's what I did the first time that I used this palette, and I was not impressed. So it's like, I just don't get it. I don't get why people spend so much money on things. Is it for the name? Why? Like, who cares? It's just a person. And I don't know. I don't really get the whole, like, brand name, you know, designer kind of stuff. It's just some person who somehow got lucky. A lot of people, it's just a generational, like, family kind of thing. And everyone spends a ton of money on it. When you can get something, like, almost as good, or sometimes just as good, or even better sometimes for a cheaper price. It just doesn't have that name on it. I don't really get it. But I mean, people who do what they want with their money, that I'm not here to say anything about that. I just, for me, am saying there's no way I would choose this over this when I can compare them like this and see what tiny differences there are. And so I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Which one do you think performed better? Do you think one is worth more than the other as far as, like, I mean, not worth, yes. Do you think one is worth more than the other? We already know one costs more than the other, but do you think one, you know, is worth a bigger price tag than the other? And yeah, so I'm excited to hear what you guys think. I thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're somebody who watches my videos and hasn't subscribed yet, please do. I would just be so thankful for you to subscribe. I see a lot of people watch but don't subscribe, and it would help me out so much. And I have a really fun giveaway coming up that once I hit 2.5K subscribers, and I'm not far off from it. So yeah, definitely consider subscribing. And I just thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me, and I look forward to hearing what you think down in the comments. All right, I will talk to you guys very soon.